Today, there's so much in our lives that influences us, our environment, the people around us. Sometimes we don't even know what's influencing us, and that's what we're here to talk about. Welcome to the Influence Today podcast with Chet Tart and Terry Lyle.
Welcome to another podcast of Influence Today, broadcasting from Venture X Palm Beach Gardens, and it's on PGA Boulevard. It's right over the bridge if you're coming here from the Waterway Cafe, which we had lunch today there.
We did.
A great place. And also, what we're asking is we'd like some feedback and some comments. We've been doing this now for about 8 months. We're talking about different elements, sustaining leadership, sustaining mental toughness, and we're talking to a couple of CEOs. So if you like what you're hearing, we would definitely appreciate your feedback, and also would you share it? We'd like it. Please like, and share.
Absolutely.
Terry Lyles is with me. It's Chet Tart and Terry Lyles. Hi, Terry. How you doing?
Great to be back, Chet.
It's good to have you back.
Yeah.
And we just kicked off the brand new book, Performance Under Pressure.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, there's a lot to talk about. Speaking of performance and also pressure, what's going on here. We just, last week, we were talking about your book and the importance of really understanding pressure and how you can turn that around to be good rather than bad.
Right.
But we had this massive hurricane hit the Bahamas.
Right.
And I know that you have this book out, Caught in Nature's Path, which we'll discuss also.
Correct.
But maybe you could help us out a little bit because, you know, I saw you on TV. I saw you being interviewed about the pressure. But I don't know what it'd be like. And it kind of scared me when this hurricane was coming to us, Category 5 plus, so 185 miles an hour with sustained winds of 200 miles an hour, and parked over the Bahamas for 48 hours, moving at 1 mile an hour.
And some of that, it was 0 miles an hour. It literally just stopped.
But
Yeah.
how do you, the water was coming up, second floor, some of the homes.
Right.
Most of the roofs were ripped off. And you're in this constant barrage. If anyone's been through a hurricane, it can get scary.
Yeah, it's like a train running through your house.
It keeps banging. If anything is loose, it starts flying. Plus, they had the water that came over the land, which is salt water, and it just kills everything when it gets into that. It just washes away the topsoil.
Right.
So, you know, it's a long way to get to the point of what I'm trying to say here is, so when that's over, what kind of effect mentally does that have on you?
Yeah, it's pretty dramatic. I mean, you know, every disaster has its own epicenter and fallout. You know, from 9/11, from people walking around New York days after days, week after week, still they'd hear a noise and they look up in the sky. You know, it's a rhetorical psychological effect of whatever just happened. It could happen again. With a hurricane, which we've been through a lot of them here. I have been, you have been for 2 decades.
Even today, I get scared when I saw that was the second one that was a Category 5. I'm thinking, no matter how well built our homes are and our infrastructure,
200-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, the newest technologies that we have right now in the construction world says it's 200-mile-an-hour, glass, triple, quadruple paned. Right. But think, if it's 200 miles an hour and an object is flying, it's probably going to go through, and that's, so it was scary to everybody here. And I can't believe we dodged a bullet. Thank God. It just sat there, looked at us, and then just went north. Like it just.
That's the second time.
Second time.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's coming later. Hopefully all good stuff. But the Bahamas were just decimated. And the psychological
those two
effect,
islands, understand that the Bahamas is saying the other islands are okay.
Right.
These two islands
because it just parked over it.
Right.
And it just stalled. And as it stalled, it just obliterated it. And, and I don't know. I mean, I've never been in something like that. They haven't either. I mean, I think that's kind of the worst we've ever seen that's been recorded from what I see. And because of the way it was structured, and it just stopped. The psychological damage goes on. The physical damage, the islands were wiped out.
Let's talk about the psychological damage, because this could happen to any of us with tornadoes and hurricanes and earthquakes and things like
Sure.
that. Because when that happens, we get destroyed.
Yes.
So one day everything's fine. Next day, your roof's off, or the fact that
It's gone. Your house
your
is
personal stuff is gone.
Or someone you know is gone.
There's no gas. The
Yep.
water system is down.
Right.
Maybe you might not have a job anymore.
Right.
And how much money do you have in the bank to sustain yourself?
And where's the bank? The bank is probably gone too. So you literally are standing with
The one thing
nothing.
I know about the bank is that it's all online, so I can get something somewhere.
But there's no telecommunications.
Right,
The
right.
island antennas are wiped out. Everything's gone. I mean, so if you lived in that island that was destroyed, in that western, Bahama island, it's gone. So they had nothing.
Mentally, what do I help me through this?
You survive.
Yeah.
You get to high ground. You try to dry out. You try to get where there's food and water. And what's crazy about the human survival mechanism is it does just that. It seeks to self-preserve. I need food. I need water. Shelter's optional because I can sleep outside. Okay? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So you have thousands of people that are just standing around, nowhere to go, nothing to eat, nothing to drink, and they can't get off the island because they're landlocked on an island. It's not like they can go somewhere without help. And so that alone, it's almost. I heard somebody the other day, they were talking about going to an MRI and they had a scan,
Right.
and they were freaking out. And they had to get out of the machine. They were freaking out because they could feel it touching their chest, and it was claustrophobic to them. And they're not even claustrophobic as they knew it. Well, imagine being trapped on an island with no food, no water, and maybe all your family, maybe not all your family, maybe some persons are still missing. You have nothing left. That's a psychological blast. But thank God we're wired in a way that we survive minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day.
Sure, we're wired in a way, but what do I do? I mean, mentally, what I'm saying to you is I want to be prepared mentally for this because
Some of those
I'm
things you
not.
just can't prepare for. I mean, because, the way we're wired is, we only have reference points of experience. So if you've never been through something like that, you try to prepare, but you'll never be able to be totally prepared because you just don't know until you know. And I've learned this the hard way by going to disasters where I think, I kind of have an idea of what I'm going to have to go through. And you get there and it's like, wow, it's beyond what you thought. So the only mental preparation, physical preparation, as we do here in South Florida, make sure you have food, you have water, you board it up, you stay in safe, you got water and food for several days. Mentally, you just play the game. It's going to pass. It won't be that bad. We've lived through every one of them. No one in my family's ever died from a hurricane. That's the pre-mental side. The post is, now my house is gone, I'm missing a family member, and I have nowhere to go. You don't prepare for that. You just survive it. And you pick up and you move to high ground, you find food, you find water, and you make friends, and you survive until something else better comes. That's the challenge of it. It's kind of like preparing for a car crash. I don't know, I guess I'm ready. I have insurance. My car is safe. I have airbags. I wear a seatbelt. But it's not until you get knocked out and have a concussion from a bad accident or worse that you go, I don't ever want to get in a car again.
Right.
It was worse than I thought. I was prepared, but it knocked me out, and I have a new reference point now for getting in a car. So that's the kind of damage that could go on for years and a lifetime unless it's processed. And that's why we do the manual. This one we're talking about.
This is the manual that's free online.
It's free online. This is a physical copy. We're actually sending over
in
there.
nature. So what's in this?
Caught in nature's path.
Is this before? Is this for before or after?
It's after.
Okay.
Well, it's a little before and after, but it's really more after because I do more second response, which is here's how to prepare mentally before, which is some of the questions you're asking. What happens on the backside is survive, stay low, make sure you have food and water like we're talking about. Make sure that you're trying to rest and sleep as much as you can, the best you can to take care of your body. If you're a parent, make sure you're staying strong to keep your children strong. And it's 30 pages. And it's a lift out of the book, Performance Under Pressure, and it's a free giveaway. So it's a PDF download. So at terrylylestore.com, it's free. They go download it. The challenge with getting it there is they have no telecommunications. So we're talking to a couple telecommunications company that's going to go with us and rebuild the structure. I'm talking U.S. Water. Mark Timmons that was here a few weeks ago.
Right.
I met with him in Indianapolis this week, actually, and we talked to them. They're willing to go over and donate water filtration systems and purify the water and clean it and set up filtration systems for the whole island. Because you start from zero. There's nothing there.
Correct. It's been wiped out.
Yeah.
There's no power, so
No
the
power.
water company's not
It's gone.
Right.
And the water is all contaminated. There's no electricity. So I'm trying to work diligently with partners of ours from Miami to Palm Beach to around the country with the Bahamian government on those islands to go in and set up infrastructure. Because and we've been very active in South Florida about sending water and food and clothing, and that's great because that's your immediate need, and that's a necessary thing. But as that goes on day after day, week after week, how do you rebuild your island? You need infrastructure. You need power. You need electrical grids. You need clean water that's filtered correctly, that people don't get sick from the cholera and the bodies and the mold and all the stuff that's there. It's a huge problem. So it takes a rebuilding of an island. And that's where I'm really proud to be a part of a lot of these great groups that are out there helping us on the sponsorship side to get there and make that island rebuild again, a lot like we did here,
Sure.
in the early 90s when the big ones hit.
Tell me a little bit about this book. How did you get the inspiration to write it, and what did you put into it that you would say, hey, this is a great manual to have after a disaster? You must have been studying disasters.
Oh, yeah.
And you must have been studying the aftermath. So how did this come about?
Well, one of the last interviews we did on the release of the book, Performance Under Pressure, that we
Right.
talked about, was my experience at 9/11. And it started then. And that was all the way back, 18 years ago, And then when the hurricanes all hit here in 2005, we had, I think, 25 or 6 named hurricanes that came through Florida here. That's when I wrote the first recovery manual. And it was just called Stress Recovery. And we gave it out because I kept going on the news programs talking the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm like, I talked to my publisher at that time, and I'm like, I need to get this into a manual that we can give away for free. And that's where we started. This is a revitalized version of that I'm really proud of. And it's actually information that's lifted out of the book, Performance Under Pressure. So it's current technology, it's current know-how and awareness, and it's easy to do, and it's just self-care, logical things that you can do before, during, and after a natural disaster.
And it's free right now.
It's free.
On your
It'll
website.
stay free.
Right.
We make them free. And Southwestern Publishing, thankfully enough to them, they agreed in my vision, and we do the same thing with shootings and terrorist attacks. That's called Caught in the Crossfire. So we end up with 2 different documents, Caught in the Crossfire, Caught in Nature's Path, and they're very specific to each other's scope.
And you keep it around the 4 elements of
Always.
mental, physical, emotional.
Spiritual.
Yeah.
It's all the same. But the positioning is different because, if you're not in the disaster, as an example, whether it's a shooting or a hurricane or an earthquake, tsunami, whatever the case, terrorist attack, it's a little different because the closer you are to the epicenter of that event, the stress level goes up and the trauma is increased. And the rule of thumb is if you heard the blast versus I saw it on TV, really is a big difference.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I survived it or I lost a family member or a friend, big difference. So these 2 manuals go into kind of the worst that can happen and then backs up to say, if it didn't happen, thank God for that, but here's what you can also do. So we're in the book, I'm talking about human performance, performing, working, being a stay-home mom, dad, So it's more of when life is somewhat normal, this is total disaster language, which we never want to use, but unfortunately it happens.
But this is good. This is good. So there is a manual. So
Absolutely.
at least drop it down, look
Yes.
at it, read it over.
And it's free. Like I said, there's no catch involved, literally. I mean, we're not trying to do marketing from it. You basically just put your name in. You can put your first name. We don't care what you put in. And your email address so you can download it. And you download it and you get the entire manual. And you can print it. You can resend it to someone else. Totally fine. We
What
just
kind
want
of
it shared.
feedback have you gotten on people who've downloaded the magazine? Have you gotten some feedback?
Absolutely. No, we've gotten great feedback from locally here on ABC just last week to Headline News the week before. People go on, they hit it, and they're like, hey, thanks for putting this together. I sent it to my family members. I'm going to download it and save it in case we have an issue that happens.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's just good information that you can log in. And we encourage people to just send it everywhere. And that's kind of rare because I'm not trying to sell it. It's like a giveaway. And that's why Southwestern Publishing was so good to do this, because this cost them money like me. But we agreed this was a philanthropic give back to help our neighbors, our humanity, our country, our world.
That's phenomenal. Now, what people who don't live in the Florida area may not know is that most of the residents in Florida are now helping the Bahamas. There's
every day.
Many
It's
different
amazing.
ways that people are sending boats over, airplanes over, helicopter, because this is our backyard. This is our
Yes.
playground. We
Yep.
go to the Bahamas a
They're
lot.
our neighbors.
Right.
They just happen to be across the water, but they're our neighbors.
So you're working with a group of people that are helping the Bahamas. You want to talk about that in case somebody wants to donate or...
Yeah, we're working through the donation piece that's more at the state level. So if they want to get involved, just hit me directly.
Okay.
Not donations, but just like, hey, I know somebody, I want to donate, and then we can get that info. And it's just my website, terrylyles.com, that I give out all the time, TERRYLYLES.com. If you email me there and say, hey, I want to help, I'll direct them to the organization. We have several organizations that we're lining up right now. So we're not promoting just one. We're trying to figure out what the best fits are, because we're trying to not do, the food, the clothing. We're more on the fabric rebuilding of the island. And so, but we can do both. So if somebody says, I want to donate to food sourcing, then we'll direct you accordingly. We'll get you there. And if you want to donate to the infrastructure and you want to we'll help you with that as well. So we're being very judicious about that, because there's a lot of savory things that happen when disasters happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I'm not a foundation, I'm a corporation, but we deal with some awesome foundations. I want to make sure people get directed correctly.
I was told that they need refrigeration. They need generators is a big deal because there's no power.
Sure.
And they need things like that. Food and water is being sent over there all the time, but not enough for refrigeration or for generators.
Yeah, power grids aren't built overnight. Filtrated water is not built overnight. Those are the things that, and we take that for granted. You go to your sink, you turn it on, you have water. You go to the shower, you turn it on. But we've been in disasters enough that when that's gone, you're like, man, it's hot in here. There's no AC. I have no windows. It's hot outside. It's hot inside. I have no running water. I mean, you really go down to the raw basics of, we just got to get through the day.
Right. We have no power. It's dark. The cell phones didn't work. I remember that.
Yeah. People go to bed when the sun goes down.
Right.
What are you doing? Mosquitoes
there's
eating you up.
Job to go to.
There's no job. There's no money. You can't get to the bank.
And
the
you
banks
can't
are closed.
spend it because nobody's open.
No. See, it's tragic. And that's why, thank God, there's people that are sending the things they're sending now on the front end, the food, the water side, because if not, it's a rough go.
So we're working with Operation 300 in Stewart at the airport. If you want to donate them, I suggest you go to the website, Operation
and I'll
300.
look them up as well. That's great.
And there's a young kid who developed a Bahamas T-shirt. It's online, and it's called Bahamas T-shirt, and he's selling it for $35. You buy it, you get the support to the Bahamas, and the money's going directly to the relief effort for the Bahamas.
Nice.
There's a lot of people doing things for the Bahamas.
Sure.
And we're trying to coordinate it all so that it goes to funnel to one area.
Correct.
But I think Operation 300 has done a great job.
I'll remember that, and I'll get our people looking at that as well. So that's good info.
Well, thanks for the information today.
You're welcome.
Hope you appreciate this one about preparing for what's going on in nature's wrath, and think about everything in advance before things really happen.
Absolutely.
We're broadcasting Influence today from Venture X on PGA Boulevard in Palm Beach Gardens. Beautiful place here. In fact, it's full.
It is.
So they're looking for other areas to express Venture X. Venture X is sort of like a place where you go if you need an office, a temporary space, or if you want to be in a space where they do a lot of socials here, and they do a lot of training here also. So the businesses that are here all talk to each other.
It's great networking, too.
Very strong networking.
You go from one business to the next, all next door. and it's all within glass windows, so you can look in and go, "What do you do every day?" And you want to talk for a minute, and before long, you're cross pollinating, and
We were
it's
just
really
talking
a cool
with some
concept.
people out there having
were.
coffee.
Yeah.
You can go out front and have some coffee, and they bring in lunch once in a while.
Yeah.
So it's a great place. And if you like the podcast, please give us some feedback. Appreciate that. And please like us. Like is important. Please share it. And it's Influence Today with Chet Tart and Terry Lyles.